So can I have a nomination for chair, please?
I nominate Councillor Carswell.
And I'll second. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll go along with that. So I'll be chair. Any apologies for absence?
None, Chair.
Any declarations of interest?
Nope.
No. Okay, so what we are going to do now, I'll just explain.
There is one other formal item on the agenda before we go into the application. That's the minutes of this subcommittee. And the proposal there is to authorise the chair of the meeting to agree the accuracy and sign the minutes as a correct record following circulation to the members of the subcommittee.
Right. Okay. What Leslie said, are we in agreement with that, Diego and Peter?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
happy to agree.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry, Simon, back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so the hearing will take the format of that the licensing officer will present a report, then anybody will have an opportunity to ask questions of the licensing officer. The applicant can represent their case, and the same happens again, and then any other persons can present their case as well. Has anybody registered to speak as such?
No, Chair, I don't believe so.
Excuse me, I have registered. I have requested from Mr. Wake that I would speak on behalf of the Muse.
I also responded to Mr. Wake with the assumption that I would be able to speak with my rejections of this proposal.
Okay, so that will be at my discretion, and as we haven't got hundreds of people wanting to speak, I will more than likely allow you to speak. I will limit you to 3 minutes, but you'll have your opportunities to speak. So that's fine. Okay, I'll introduce myself and the other members of the subcommittee. My name is Simon Carswell. I'm a Somerset councillor for Street. Peter.
Yeah, I'm Peter Clayton, Somerset councillor for Burnham-on-Sea North. Nice to meet you.
Diego.
Yep, Diego Rodriguez, Somerset councillor for Bridgewater East and Bordrip.
Thank you very much. Just so you know, this meeting will be recorded. If you do have mobile phones, I know we're not in an we're in a virtual meeting, but if you could put them to silent, that would be I'd be grateful for that. Okay. Right. We'll go straight in, I think. Phil Wake is the licensing officer. I'll ask him to present his report.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, everybody. So as part of the hearing, here is the report. A summary. An application has been made on behalf of Motor Fuel Limited in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003 to vary a premises licence, PRL 0565, in respect of Budgeons, 6 Bath Road, Wales, BA5 3LF. The licensing authority has received 24 relevant representations and must therefore hold a hearing for the licensing subcommittee to determine the application. The subcommittee must take such steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, being to either grant the application, modify the conditions of the license by way of altering, omitting or adding any new ones, or reject the whole or part of the application. In determining the application, the subcommittee must have regard and give appropriate weight to the following: any relevant representation, including supporting documentation received, revised guidance issued under the Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003 by the Home Office, and the Licensing Authority's Statement of Licensing Policy, and human rights considerations, in particular Article 6, Article 8 and Article 1 of Protocol 1. A bit of background about the application and the business. The business operating from this premises, trading as Budgeons, is a petrol forecourt store selling a variety of products including alcohol, fresh fruit, vegetables, meat, bread, frozen products, and also includes a post office. The licensing authority received the application on the 31st of July 2025. A copy of the full application and the plan of the premises is attached to Appendix 1 and Appendix 2. The nature of the variation is to extend the sale of alcohol from 0700 hours to 2200 hours to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. B, to add late night refreshment from 2300 hours to 0500 hours, 7 days a week. And C, to remove all of the conditions under Annex 2 and replace them with a new set of conditions listed in the application. During the consultation period, the police and applicant agreed on a set of conditions. These can be found at Appendix 3. There are also some conditions that were created from the application included in that document. The current licence can be found at Appendix 4 as well. The licensing authority received 24 representations from other persons. These are attached from Appendix 5 through to Appendix 28. And the licensing authority received 0 representations from responsible authorities. And yeah, that concludes my report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. We'll go to questions now from the subcommittee. If I can start off, have we had any issues in the past from this premises, Phil, as far as you're aware?
No, looking at the premises on our system, we have had no licensing complaints regarding this premises.
Thank you. Peter, do you have any questions?
There was a question regarding delivery vehicles. Would there be any change in the format for delivery vehicles? I generally think they would stick to their usual format.
Possibly that's a question that needs to be directed to the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. Thank you.
So hold on to that one, Peter. Diego, do you have any questions for the licensing officer?
Just 2 quick ones. Could you remind me what is meant by late night refreshments between the hours of 23 and 5? That's the first one.
Yeah, lovely. If I can take it one at a time, that'd be fantastic. So late night refreshment is the provision of hot food or hot drink between the hours of 2300 and 0500 hours. It is not licensable outside of those hours. So yeah, that is the maximum amount of time it could be licensed for is between 11 PM and 5 AM. So it's a serving of hot food and hot drink between those hours.
Thank you. And the second one, just to confirm, I think it follows really on Councillor Clayton's point. Alcohol-related complaints from the police. Anything specific from the police about past complaints or anything like that from the police?
No. So again, looking on the system, we have had no complaints regarding the premises for any licensed activities from anybody, including responsible authorities such as the police.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any questions of the licensing officer?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Do any other persons wish to ask a question of the licensing officer specifically?
I do, Chair, if I may.
Yes, Leslie.
Phil, at the end of paragraph 2.2 of your report, you talk about human rights considerations, in particular Article 6 and Article 8. So can you just confirm that when you're talking about Article 6, you're talking about parties having a right to a fair trial or hearing? And in terms of Article 8, you're talking about the right to respect for private and family life. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Not heard that one before, Leslie. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on then. To the applicant if they wish to present their case, and so that is Robert.
It is. And can you actually see me? Because I seem to be at the end of a very long table.
You are indeed.
You are at the end of a very long table. When you're speaking, you become larger. So
oh, is that right? I was wondering about that. Okay, so you can just about make me out. So thank you very much for hearing us today, and I hope that I'll be able to iron out some misunderstandings and confusion that can arise with license applications. So the applicant here is Motor Fuel Limited. We own over 1,100 petrol stations around the country. They are all licensed to sell alcohol, and over 800 of them are licensed to sell alcohol 24 hours a day. Neil is the area manager. He has 15 stores under his wing. They are also all licensed and mostly 24 hour. 6 of his 7 of his sites are in Somerset, and 6 of those are licensed 24 hours. So both the company and the area manager have got a lot of experience of operating 24-hour petrol stations. The application today is about 2 things. It's about the provision of alcohol, sale of alcohol, and provision of late night refreshment. Councillor Rodriguez asked the question. I was going to touch on late night refreshment to start with, actually, because it does cause some confusion. What is it? It is, as Phil said, the provision of hot food or drink during the night. We don't need to be licensed for it during the day. We can sell a hot cup of coffee or a hot pasty if we want to during the day without a license. It's only at night that we need a license, and that's only since this act came into play. Before this act, we didn't even need a license for that. We don't do much hot food at all. I very much doubt that there will be hot food during the night here. So this part of the application is really about whether if a customer comes to the store and wants a cup of coffee or a hot chocolate or a cup of tea, can we provide that? And generally that's not seen to be contentious. Very importantly, this is not an application for permission to open the store. And I think that's where some confusion lies. So at the moment we open until 10 o'clock at night, we still have to go through the planning process, and some of the concerns that the residents raise are more relevant to a planning application than to a license application. I appreciate that that can be confusing. One application can come before the other. Sometimes it's planning first, sometimes it's licensing, and sometimes the vice versa. So we are asking you today effectively that if we receive planning permission to trade the store 24 hours, can we also provide hot drinks, maybe hot food, but mainly hot drinks, and can we provide sell alcohol during those hours? We had correspondence with your police licensing officer, Nicola King. We agreed, last year we had agreed on a set of conditions for another site. I sent those to her and she agreed them. But I do think that if you turn to Appendix 3, it's one of those things that jumps off the page just as you're preparing for hearing. You'll see that condition 1 on public safety refers to the hours of 2300 to 0001. And I think this is the wording that the police used last year when we were corresponding on another matter. And I think that should be 2300 for this site, and I'm sure Nicola would agree, Nicola King, it should be 2300 to 0600, so that we would have the night pay window between 2300 and 0600 rather than 2300 and 0001. And the risk assessment wording to be amended to reflect that. Otherwise, it's quite normal for us to update conditions when we apply for a variation, and that's what we've done here. And the police are satisfied with the application as amended, and there are no representations from any of your other responsible authorities. I'm pleased to hear that your records show no complaints. Our records also show no complaints. We haven't had any issues running this store. I've been through the concerns raised by the residents, and they are a fear, if I can say that, of what may happen if we go 24 hours. And this is where licensing becomes difficult, because we don't have a crystal ball. But what we can say is that there are no problems running at the moment, and we haven't had any issues to speak of at our other 24-hour stores. Just to put a bit of flesh on that, if you like, I've acted for MFG now for a number of years, and none of their licenses have been brought back to a committee for review. So virtually every hearing I have done for MFG, it's because residents are objecting to an application. It's very rare that we have a hearing where responsible authorities, including the police, are opposing an application. So generally it's residents, and the residents have almost always say, well, we live in a quiet area. It's quiet at night at the moment, and we don't want that to change. And that's understandable. At the end of every one of those hearings, I have made a point of saying, we don't believe from our experience that your fears will materialize. If they do, please contact us. and let us know. But if we don't do anything about it, or it's not compulsory to contact us, but you do have the right to review the license. And that review, and Chair, I know that you and your fellow councillor, you're aware of this process. I'm really saying this for the benefit of the residents. You have the power to seek a review of the licence based on actual events, incidents that have happened. And the reason I say that is that we, notwithstanding all of those hearings that I've attended, all of those hearings where I've said the same thing, we haven't had a single review of any of the MFG licenses. That's not to say there are never any problems. It would be wrong of me to say that. We've got over 1,100 premises and over 800 operating 24 hours. Where there has been an issue late at night, we have dealt with those immediately. If an officer contacts me, I go to MFG, and MFG have immediately suspended the sales of alcohol during the night to investigate and then work with the police before reintroducing the sales. But it's very rare. It's perhaps happened once or twice in the period of time that I've been acting for MFG. So the concerns of the residents are that we're going to increase antisocial behaviour, vandalism, aggression and disorder, particularly after the pubs close. And it's quite common, again, we hear, well, the pubs will close at 11 o'clock at midnight and everybody's going to tip out, go to the petrol station, get some more alcohol and create antisocial behaviour. That's not our experience. It's not the way that people behave. It's not the way that our customers behave. And it's not been brought to our attention anywhere else in the estate. There's a concern that intoxicated customers would present risks to store staff, to pedestrians and other residents. Well, we have to risk assess to make sure that our staff are safe, but there is no evidence to suggest that people will be drunk here just because they can buy alcohol during the night, and it won't endanger any residents or indeed the staff. There's a concern about increased traffic, which is a planning issue rather than licensing. But again, just because we're open 24 hours and we have alcohol, it doesn't all of a sudden become a destination venue. And I think one of the residents refers to it will become a hub, it will become a destination venue because it's the only store in the area that's got 24-hour alcohol. That's again not our experience. We don't believe that the nighttime will be particularly busy in terms of traffic or indeed alcohol sales. A concern that there will be noise from vehicles and customers and possible music. That's something that we need to keep an eye on. We don't generally get complaints about that elsewhere. There haven't been complaints here, but if residents are disturbed in any way, then we would like to hear from them. And of course, if they don't want to contact us, they can go straight to officers and seek a review. Light pollution, as mentioned, that's a planning issue rather than licensing. But by way of comfort, I know from previous experience that there are things that can be done in terms of lighting. Neil's nodding; he'll know a lot more about this than I do. There are things that can be done about the lighting during the night to ensure that neighbours are not disturbed by the lighting. We're told that the store is close to school routes, play areas. We don't believe that the alcohol being sold between the hours that we're seeking will make any difference to school routes or litter or any inappropriate conduct. There's some general concerns about local health strategies. Well, public health in itself is not a licensing objective. It is in Scotland, but it's not a licensing objective. So unless you wish me to do so, I won't address you any more on alcohol-related hospital admissions or emergency, the impact on ambulance services. There's a comment about increased demand on the already stretched police. But the police are a responsible authority, as indeed are public health, and neither of those parties have made or maintained a representation. The concern that this is a purely residential area. That is what we hear every time we, or nearly every time we apply for a license, because they are almost always in residential areas. So when we're on an A road, we get other objections raised about remoteness. But most of the sites that we trade 24 hours, or indeed where we've had hearings, it's because we are in a residential area, and we know that we have to make sure that the neighbours are comfortable once we start trading the 24 hours. There is a concern that we don't live locally and appear motivated purely by profit. I don't think that's a licensing factor. I won't address that unless you wish me to do so. And then finally, that the public notice was poorly displayed. Well, it was properly displayed in accordance with the Licensing Act, and there's been no attempt to hide this application any way. It was advertised for 28 days on the premises and advertised in a local newspaper. Your own policy does say that every application must be dealt with on its on their individual merits. It also importantly says that shops, stores, and supermarkets should be able to trade, sell alcohol at all times that they are able to trade, unless there are good reasons to restrict those out. And I would submit that those good reasons must be backed up by evidence of what will happen if we are 24 hours. So we are within your policy. That policy reflects the Section 182 guidance, which has got very similar wording. Your policy has a helpful section on page 19 for residents as to what to do if they wish to make a complaint about licensed premises. And that's good to see that it's advice to residents. If you have concerns about noise or activities at licensed premises, this is what to do about it. So that's really the application. We understand the concerns, we understand the fears, and we have heard these before. That's not to belittle the concerns in any way at all, but we don't believe that those fears will materialise. Licensing is generally a fairly permissive. The Licensing Act is a fairly permissive piece of legislation that allows things to happen, but with the sting in the tail, which is that if those fears do materialise, then residents and officers have got the power to do something about it, which is the licence review. I'm very happy to answer any. Oh, deliveries. Sorry, Councillor Clayton.
Thank you. Just about to ask that.
Classic error. I made a note and turned the page over. So no, the inbound deliveries, it shouldn't make any difference at all to inbound deliveries. So the schedule would be impacted.
Thank you, Robert, for that full report. I do find legal advisors never short of words, but thank you.
I thought that was rather succinct.
Diego, do you have a question for the applicant?
No, Chairman, that's very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, do you have any other questions for the applicant?
No, it's only the one I couldn't understand the objections around child safety. I don't think children go to school between the early hours of the morning. Is there any concerns from anybody about that?
Well, we'll ask the other people perhaps when they come to speak. Leslie, did you have any questions for the applicant?
Just one question for Robert. You said you were seeking, or your clients were seeking, planning permission for the extended hours. Can you tell us where that application is?
I don't believe it's been lodged as yet, but they won't be able to. Yeah, but they won't be able to trade, obviously, outside of the permitted hours until that application goes through.
Okay, thank you.
I think, did Dan wish to ask a question? I'll let you ask a question, Dan.
I wasn't asking a question. I was raising my hand with regards to child safety, and that I have points around that. But
okay, we'll leave that for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave that for now.
I think you've muted, Councillor.
Yeah, everybody's muted.
Sorry, that was my fault. Does anybody else have any questions of the applicant? If you do, raise your hands either physically or virtually. I'm not seeing anything at the moment, so that's great. Thank you very much. We don't have any responsible authorities who wish to make a submission. As we know, the police have already discussed the application with the applicant and come to an agreement over certain issues. So we'll move on to other persons. Did any of the other persons, I believe at the beginning they did say, wish to make a statement? Can we start with who wishes to go first? Put your hand up. Yes, the lady in the top, my top right. If you want to, just introduce yourself.
I'm Caroline Baxendale. I'm representing the Muse, which is 2 houses down from Budgeons. Sorry.
Would you like to go ahead? Yeah, I'd like to go ahead.
We keep hearing you muted.
Yeah, I keep muting myself so you don't hear background noise of the dog barking or whatever. But if you carry on and say what you want to say.
Right. Well, I'd like to say there's already one 24-hour licensed premises in Wells. We have had reported incidents of crime and disorder in the evenings outside Budgeons, including threatening behaviour and one of the staff being injured. So I'm not quite sure why that hasn't come up on the police report. The site concerned is a quiet, densely populated residential area of Wells, and noise and antisocial behaviour and other forms of public nuisance will order the ambience for residents, many of whom are quite elderly. Somerset drug and alcohol strategy focuses on reducing alcohol dependency, and yet vulnerable individuals who are obviously at risk during the nighttime hours and will come into contact with an undesirable element and very possibly drugs. Have somebody thought about this? And our objection also includes questions as to whether the applicant has plans to meet the Somerset County Council statement of licensing policy regarding the safeguarding of vulnerable groups, training and support of staff regarding incident management. In summary, Budgeons is an asset, and also as a shop and a post office, it's a total asset to our community, and we love it as it stands. But we do not feel any necessity to alter the current opening hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll do all the presentations first, then we'll ask questions. Does anybody else any of the other persons wish to make a statement?
Yeah, I've got some points to make if possible.
Is that Dan, is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
So my name's Daniel Dutton. I live directly opposite the Budgeons petrol station. I'm a family. I have 2 small children, both of which have bedrooms at the front of the house. And I understand the representatives saying that obviously it's some are planning matters, some are to do with the licensing, but ultimately one affects the other. So the changes in adding noise pollution, light pollution to the surrounding environment will get worse. They will increase. Actually, the petrol station is already in breach of planning conditions, and they still are in breach. This has been raised to the...
Mr. Dutton,
yes,
we cannot deal with planning issues in this committee.
That's okay. I was just raising that they are already in breach, and this goes on to sort of demonstrate as an example the applicant's disregard for the local people. As I said, the noise is going to increase. The light pollution will increase. My children are already affected by the light pollution, hence the breaches and the reports. And as already raised by my neighbours, there has been physical attacks. There is alcoholics that regularly use the store, steal from the store, sit on the walls outside making noise, sit on the bench up 100 metres up the road until the wee hours shouting and drinking. One member of staff had his arm broken in the last year due to antisocial, drunken people. So to say that there has been none, that is of great concern. I'm concerned for my family. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Really, I don't see how it could even be profitable to be open all night in a residential area that, quite frankly, although it is a busy road in the daytime.
Again, Mr. Dutton, that is not a concern for this licensing committee.
Okay. Let me just finish off. But yeah, well, there we go. I think I've made my point. I don't think it's appropriate to extend the licensing.
Thank you, Dan. Just to pick up on something Caroline said, the police have agreed staff training with the applicant with regard to the sale of alcohol and the Licensing Act. Does anybody have any questions of the other persons? Peter? No, you're on mute now, Peter, sorry.
No, I don't think so. My concern
Diego.
was that there was some suggestions of child safety. I'm not quite sure where they were coming through. Possibly they could explain where the risk is.
Does anybody wish to come back on that?
I can come back on that. Obviously, I explained I have 2 small children that are already have witnessed and get woken up by the drunken behaviour that I've previously explained, and when the person was attacked. And both of my children have sort of their bedrooms at the front, and they were woken up by this. And if those sort of incidents were to increase, then obviously my children witnessing that is not good for their safety or mental health. My son has SEN needs, so would be affected by this.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, 2 things, and whether it's those making representations that respond to this, I don't know. But the first one, the first person commented that the extended sale of alcohol could possibly come with drugs. I'm only wondering if that's based on evidence of drugs being used or whatever it is within the property or around the premises, in the premises at the moment, or if that's just an assumption. That's just the first one, whether that's fact-based. And yeah, that's probably the first person. I don't think anything's come through from police about that, but I may have missed something.
Well, the police seem to have totally ignored the problems we've had outside Budgeons, as Mr. Dutton has pointed out. And there are undesirable elements that hang around when kids are drinking and so on, talking about teenagers plus. So I think that we have had trouble with drugs, but not in Budgeons, certainly, but in the outside areas, sitting on the wall in the car park. So I'm really anxious that the police have not recorded any of these incidents, including the time when the guy was attacked by a shoplifter stealing alcohol. Will this get worse, is what we're saying. Will this get worse when it's late at night? So it's a different type of thing, isn't it?
Just before anyone else comes in, my question was specifically around the drugs element to the comments that were made. So that's what I was specifically trying to find out. The other question which I had to the second person was around the people drinking outside, reference to alcoholics sitting on the wall, drinking 100 metres down the road and making a nuisance and antisocial behaviour. Again, I'm not sure that that's something that we've seen evidence through the police, but I may have missed something, or can we be certain, licensing officer and legal officer, that we've had all the information from the police? Can you just confirm that to us, please?
I can come in there. In regards to the police, so the police are responsible authority, so they get served the application. They get made aware that this application has come in. They have the same information as all the other responsible authorities, and they didn't deem it necessary to make a representation. They felt it was necessary to speak to the applicant, agree a set of conditions, and that is what they felt was appropriate. They didn't provide any information to us as a licensing authority about any reports or any instances, but I can't speak on their process, but typically I'd imagine they would look at the history of the premises and any concerns they have and make a representation based on that. But like I said, we haven't had any representation from the police at all.
And just in summary there, Phil, then really what we're saying is the police have had a chance to object. They came to an agreement with the applicant. They may have records of incidents, but they didn't deem that they were of sufficient severity or to affect what they decided as regards the application.
Yeah, so they've reviewed it and they haven't felt necessary to make a representation.
Okay, thank you.
If I
Thank you,
come in,
Peter.
Simon, sorry, I did put my hand up. Are any of the residents, the Muse or Dan, were these incidents actually reported? Because I think that's the main thing. If they're not actually reported, they won't show up in the records. So do you know if anybody reported these incidents?
I couldn't tell you outright that every incident that's ever happened's been reported. I would imagine somebody being dragged out and having their arm broken on the premises should have been.
Yeah, it was.
The colleague.
Can we not all speak at once, please?
No, I put my hand up a couple of times because I'm a little bit concerned that an incident that we don't have the details of, that the police haven't raised with us, it's not in the papers, and it seems to be growing. The incident seems to be changing as this hearing progresses. So we would have to investigate that. Neil's been area manager for some 6 months. He doesn't believe that this incident has happened in those 6 months. It may well have been under the previous owners, which is why we may not have information on the incident that's been referred to, and certainly check on it afterwards. But if there was a serious incident, I'm sure that the police would have brought it to our attention.
Okay, thank you. And I think, as I said, the police may well have a record, but they didn't deem it. They must have reviewed. If they do have a record, they reviewed that as part of the application process, and have not deemed it to be of sufficient concern to object to the application. I don't really want to labour on about this for a long time, so I want to move the meeting on if I can.
Keep on.
Somebody's got hands up.
Go on, and just very quickly. I don't want to repeat what we've already just said there.
It doesn't matter. What I had wanted to say earlier was about the fact that children were at school age, but I'd like to ask what constitutes a child. If that, I would think, looking at present coverage of news, that 16 is a child, and those certainly would be the sort of kids who could very well be around after hours.
Okay, thank you. Right, I'm going to move on. We now go to the part of the meeting where we sum up. Ironically, we go in reverse order here a bit, but does any of the other persons wish to do a quick summary of their objections? And we are talking quick, and I would say the same to Robert when it comes to his turn as well. Caroline, do you wish to say anything quickly?
No, I think I've already summarised that we love Gardens and we want it to stay as a post office and a shop, but we don't want the hours to be changed.
Thank you very much. Okay, Dan, did you wish to say anything quickly?
I agree wholeheartedly. We love having the store in our area, but there's no need for it to be 24 hours.
Okay, thank you. As I said before, there's no responsible authorities. So the applicant, would you like to sum up, Robert? It'd be nice if you could sum up as quickly as everybody else, but I don't think it will happen.
Well, that's a challenge. I'll go very, very briefly. Children are those under the age of 18, but we are talking late at night here, so we wouldn't expect children to be hanging around the premises. They haven't caused an issue so far. It's a quiet location, as the residents have said. Dan has said that there's no need for this change. Well, the need is not a factor in a license application. We're delighted to hear that this store is valued and the post office is valued. It is difficult to keep these businesses going, and we do need to ensure that the store is viable, and the 24-hour operation is part of that. The incident that's been referred to, we don't have any knowledge of it. The police haven't brought it to our attention. We don't know what date it was. We don't know what time of day it was, and it sort of mutated as the hearing has gone along. But we will certainly see what we can find after the hearing. But the police, as the Section 102 guidance says, the police are your experts on crime and disorder. And if they had any concerns about this application, they would have raised them with you today. I also picked up on the comment about drugs. I think I took that to be, well, a fear that if this happens, and if there's alcohol and people hanging around, and there's drugs and there's social behaviour, and also an assumption that anybody buying alcohol during the night is somehow bad. And there are lots of people who do wish to benefit from the extended hours, whether that's for alcohol or for other items as well. People work different shifts. We have a range of customers, so it's wrong to categorise them all as being undesirable. So I'd be grateful if the application could be granted and considered based on the evidence that you have before you today, which in my submission is that a quiet location, and we don't expect that to change in any way. And you've heard my message about the sting in the tail in licensing, and that is the opportunity for residents to review a license if fears do materialise. We're very happy to meet with Dan on site at a time that suits him. Neil will be pleased to meet with Dan. It's always good to meet our neighbours and deal with any immediate concerns, and it applies to other residents as well, but Dan mentioned that he lives directly opposite. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Phil, licensing officer, would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I read out the large part of the report at the beginning. Very little point in going over that again, so I'll just read out the very end bit, which is the right of appeal. So all relevant parties have the right of appeal to the magistrate courts if they are aggrieved by the decision of the licensing authority today. This must be done within 21 days of being notified in writing of the relevant decision. So whether that's we're all told later on, or there is a notice, decision notice, which I'll send out to all parties, you've got 21 days from when you receive that notification. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Phil. Okay, we come to the stage of the meeting now when I'm going to request everyone to leave the meeting, apart from the members of the subcommittee and the legal officer. And what I would say is that you may re-enter the meeting, I would say at 3:30 to hear our decision, or the decision will be issued in writing within 5 working days, with the right of appeal within 21 working days. But as I said, we'll reconvene at 3:30. So if I can ask everybody to leave the meeting now. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This session.
Thank you. Again, can you see me? I can't see myself.
We can.
You can. Okay, good. I don't know whether my bandwidth isn't very wide here or what, but I can't see anybody, but I'll go ahead. Thank you all for coming back and for attending the meeting today. After careful consideration, the subcommittee has come to the decision to grant the application as applied for, subject to the police conditions in Appendix 3. Anyone has the applicant will be notified within 5 working days of the written decision, and anyone has 21 working days right of appeal to the magistrates court. And of course, at any time, anybody can request to seek a review of the license. Thank you all for attending. That's a brief summation. The full written decision will come out in due course, as I said. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.